All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We want to sincerely appreciate you for always joining us. Thank you. And we want to again welcome you to another edition of the EdenWorld Conservation Initiative Green Talk. This event um, is a monthly program that we bring to you to intimate and to let you know about the happenings of, as far as environmental issues are concerned. And for this particular edition, we have a great personality, someone who is doing well as far as the agri space is concerned in Nigeria, in Africa, and by extension, all other parts of the world. So she's also a strong member of, you know, the community of the youth in agric, the community we call the youth in agric community. Yeah, she's a great personality, like I said, and currently she's a production agronomist, and also she's a research fellow at IITA CGA. So I would like to welcome the the Green Talk Show. Also, my colleague who is currently on this call, Temitope Ogunlade, will be hosting this event together with me, and when it comes up, is going to to continue. All right. So Dorcas, you are welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Alaoluwa. It's a pleasure to be on the show, and most especially, it's a pleasure to talk about climate smart agriculture because it's one of the topics I'm quite passionate about. And I'm also very proud of the work you're putting in. I see you, and the world is watching. So just keep on keeping on.
Thank you. All right. To kickstart because of our time, first of all, Dorcas, in your own
Yeah.
words, how can you describe climate smart agric or climate smart agriculture in your own words?
Thank you very much. Climate smart agriculture is basically a coin of three words: climate, smart, and agriculture. Climate is the atmospheric weather condition of a location for about 30 to 35 years. And being smart is someone who is wise, or when you are being resourceful. And agriculture definitely is the production of food and rearing of livestock. So basically, in simple words, without mincing words, climate smart agriculture just entails the production of food under the realities of climate change, honestly. Because climate smart agriculture, it reflects the ambition for us to improve food production and at the same time manage climate resources such that food production will not hinder the resources that are found in the environment. Let's just produce food, but not at the expense of our climate. And now that there's been a lot of conversations around climate change and all of these things are happening, like we had a very good indication of climate change in the year 2020 when there was no rainfall. I'm not sure if any one of us remembers that incident where rain didn't fall for months and all of that. So basically, climate smart agriculture is just an integrated approach to managing landscapes, to production of food and rearing of livestock that addresses the challenges of climate change. We produce food, but not at the expense of the climate. So basically, that's what climate smart agriculture is. A sustainable way of food production that will not hinder the resources found in the environment. So I want to produce my food, but not at the expense of our natural resources. That's basically what climate smart agriculture is, in my own words.
All right. Thank you so much. Temitope, can we have you, please?
Yeah, okay. Thank you for describing stories. Can you give us some insights as regarding some practices that enhances climate smart agriculture? As you have explained it, are there some
Okay.
practices that, yeah, that enhances that?
Okay. Well, um, in simple words, like I defined climate smart agriculture, the simple ways to practice it is also quite simple. As Africans, we should learn a way, we should be intentional about uh, being localizing our resources such that our solution to these issues would also be localized. So, in the African context, the way we can uh, practice climate smart agriculture is to do simple things like plant more trees, uh,
Mm,
integrated pest management approach, not just chemical control of your weeds or chemical control of insects. Merge it with the physical control, the biological control, and the chemical control. You understand? Don't just go uh, all about just spraying harmful chemicals to destroying the bio ecosystem. So it could be as little as spraying a bio insecticide. It could be as little as
mm,
planting certain types of trees that are harmful to these insects. It could be when harvesting, don't just move all your crops and the crop residue away from the field. Just harvest your crops and leave the crop residue on the field. It could be as simple as
mm,
reduced tillage, your sustainable mechanization. Don't just plow tractor year in year out, allow some area to follow for some period of time. So we need to localize our solutions. It's not just about talking about climate smart agriculture and not preferring solutions that can work for us in Africa. We are not yet fully digitized, unfortunately. So little things
mm,
like planting more trees, little things like integrated pest management approach, little things like retaining our crop residue to conserve our soil moisture, little things like crop rotation or intercropping, mixing two or three crops and planting on the same field, or changing the crop rotation. Basically, I know we all understand what it means and all of that. So these are the simple ways by which we can enhance climate smart agriculture, and the benefits, it just keeps on giving. There are lots of benefits
mm.
as to practicing climate smart agriculture. Thank you.
No, thank you very much.
Uh,
I think that is profound. Yeah, thank you.
all right.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you
welcome.
so much for that, Dorcas. Um, I was supposed to ask you a question before Temitope came in on
Yeah.
the idea behind climate smart agric, and I think perhaps you can quickly talk about that in 1 minute.
Okay. The idea behind climate smart agriculture is we realize that the world is increasing population. There's a growing population. Everyone wants food. Everyone needs to eat. Everyone should have a right to food. So there's this, as population keeps increasing, there's also an increasing demand for food. So, if we need to produce more food with less resources, we realize that the environment becomes the victim, because we would have to produce more food at the expense of our environmental and natural resources. So, these are the bounce off of energy that stakeholders realized. I think the first time climate smart agriculture was coined was in 2010 by the Food and Agricultural Organization. So we realized that this biodiversity can be stretched dangerously thin if these things are not in check. So to be able to address that, a term called climate smart agriculture was coined and was passed off in 2010 by FAO. So we realized that this idea of climate smart agriculture should be intensified by, as a result of our of agricultural vulnerability to climate change. Agriculture produce about 30% of the food, about 30% of our greenhouse gases, honestly. So
Mm,
you realize that we
mm,
honestly cannot do without producing food, because everyone will go hungry. And at the same time, we need to conserve our environmental and natural resources. So it's just a solution, a long-term solution anyway, as to addressing these things. So the idea behind it is we honestly need to produce food for our growing population, and at the same time we need to conserve our natural resources. So what can we do? How can we meet in the middle so that our food production will not negatively affect our natural resources, and climate smart agriculture became the solution. So, because honestly, agriculture, if we are being honest, agriculture is a major part of our climate problem. Agriculture is one of the major contributors to climate change. And we cannot stop producing food. We cannot survive without agriculture. So we just need to find a solution to address these challenges.
Oh, okay. I
Okay.
think, in a way, before I hand over to Temitope, I think you have in a way answered the question I'm about to ask now. However, I still think it's important to say ask you. Perhaps you can still share more insights on the question I'm about asking you, and that is, why is there an urgent need to put in place climate smart agric? So why is there an urgent need to practice climate smart agriculture?
Okay. One smart way is one smart way I can answer the question is um climate change is not only about reducing the environmental resources, it is doing that, and at the same time, it is reducing our yield. For example, let's take the soil. For example,
Mm,
the soil is the medium by which crop grow, and agriculture, a major part of agriculture, which is cropping, is planting and sowing seeds into the soil. But if you realize that the resources found in the soil has been depleted over the years, definitely it's more like garbage in, garbage out. What we get at the end of the day is not commensurate to the efforts we put in. So if climate smart agriculture is not being practiced, we are basically shooting ourselves in the leg, because we realize with our natural resources depleting, with greenhouse gas emissions, with our natural resources growing thin, realize that even the crops we produce are not giving us the optimum yield. Realize that even the livestock production are also not efficient enough to produce the amount of meat or food products they will produce. So you just realize that it's just this chaos or cycle that is just running. Everyone is just running around in circles without doing anything really about these things. So there's an urgent need to put climate smart agriculture into practice. There's an urgent need for us to practice irrigation. There's an urgent need for us to provide solutions, to diversify our solutions. There's an urgent need for us to have this integrated approach towards solving this menace. So that is
Okay,
why there's
thank
an
you.
urgent.
So over to the topic.
thank you very much. That was quite explicit. I I mean, building on what you just said, do you think that climate smart agriculture is a sustainable practice? Do you think
It
it's
is.
sustainable?
Well,
Okay.
in Africa, it is, but it's unfortunate that one of the challenges in African food systems is we've not learned how to diversify our solutions. We realize that the big guys gives us these solutions, and these things are not workable. They are not practicable in Africa. So we need to come down to our level, to the grassroots, and we need to profile these solutions to them. For example, if you tell a farmer, a local cassava farmer, that practice climate smart agriculture, it just looks you in the face like, what is this person talking about? He has no idea. But if you tell him,
Mm,
if you uproot your cassava, leave um your leaves and stems on the field and don't pack it off, then he understands. You even realize, let me even shock you. It's you even realize that these guys practice these things, but maybe they don't know why. because you hardly find a maize farmer, for example, who will just evacuate all the materials, all
Mm,
the waste from his field. You realize that they leave it, they cover the ground and all of that
that's
to
true.
conserve
That's
soil
true.
moisture. You get, but they
Mm,
don't really understand it. But if we can come down to our level to explain these things and prefer workable solutions, you realize that these farmers are willing to do it as long as it will provide an avenue for their yields to increase. They would definitely do
mm,
it. They are business people too. You don't just walk up to them and tell them XYZ and it doesn't translate into money. It's a business they are
mm,
doing. You get, so we need to be able to
yeah.
do these things. So for climate smart agriculture to be, it's quite sustainable in the long run. But for it to be sustainable, there are some things we need to put in check. And smallholder farmers needs to understand the benefit of practicing climate smart agriculture, and the way by which they can benefit from it is by explaining these things to them. You explain to them that if your soil is conserved, you don't need as much fertilizer, and that means that you don't need as much cost of production. That means their cost of production is reduced and they will get the same optimum harvest. So you tell them that you increase by practicing climate smart agriculture, you reduce food wastage, you increase food security, and opportunities for income generation and all of that, all of that. So it's quite sustainable, honestly. Climate smart agriculture is. We just need to put some measures in place to achieve that.
All right. Moving on, moving forward. While I was introducing it to the other time, I talked about youth in agric,
Yeah.
and then and as far as agriculture is concerned, you cannot take away the roles of youth as a major driver. I think you
Yeah.
understand in achieving, let's say, sustainable agriculture, let's say whatever that we have on ground. Now let us talk about youth involvement in climate smart agri. What do you think the roles of youth should be, or what are the insights that you can share with us this afternoon as far as youth involvement in climate smart agriculture is concerned? Yeah, can you hear me? Temitope, can you hear me now? Can you still hear
Yeah, I
me?
can hear you. I can hear
Okay,
you. I think
okay.
I think
I think he has. Okay, and okay, maybe before she comes up again, uh, what we are trying to say, or what I'm trying to ask,
I'm sorry, I
okay.
lost you.
She's back. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I'm sorry. I had a call
Welcome back.
come in. That's
all right,
Thank you.
no problem. Did you get the question, or should I come over again?
Yes, please come over.
Okay. I was trying to say that what do you think the involvement of youth should be, or can you share with us some of the insights as to how youth could be more involved in climate smart agri?
Okay. Thank you for this question. This is a very good question. This is one of the ways young people can be involved in climate smart agriculture, by talking about it, by sensitizing smallholder farmers about it, by first understanding what climate smart agriculture is and how to prefer solutions to climate change while at the same time not negatively affecting food production. So this is one of the ways youth can be involved. At the same time, you realize that innovative solutions are even more urgent when we talk about aeroponics, hydroponics, and
Mm,
all other mediums of plant production, of crop production instead. You realize that young people are at the forefront of these innovations because we have the time, we have the energy, we don't have the resources anyway, but we have the knowledge. You get, so if young people are at the forefront of these things and we talk about this world or this climate where we are, or the weather and or the natural resources we have, realize that it's going to be for us for a long, long time. Be with us rather for a long, long time. So realize that we have no option than to be involved actively in talking about climate smart agriculture. So we are the future of African agriculture, especially African youths. We sometimes underestimate the power that we wield. So I would advise fellow young people like myself to understand how to use these new technologies to develop the sector and to respond to these challenges that is posed by climate change. I would really advise that we learn the effect, negative effects of climate change and utilize social media very, very well. Olaluwa is one of the young people I look forward to seeing his tweet on Twitter where he shares these challenges about climate change. So we all need to do the same thing. We need to understand these things. We need to provide innovative solutions. And the okay, I think we'll get to the other parts. It's not just the youth. We have other people who have to be involved in driving these innovative solutions. So I think as the youth, we should be involved. Don't just we need to be more involved, not just words, but with actions, with collaborating with an initiative like EdenWorld, and be more active in driving the solutions. We need to do better. We need to be more active, both offline and online. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The next question I want to ask actually is directly linked with what you just said. You said there are other people involved.
Yeah,
So, what I mean, who are the other people involved? You can just give us some examples and what are their roles apart from
okay.
carrying out their own assignments or their own activities. Who are the other people involved in this climate smart agriculture?
The other people involved are young people. Okay, we already talked about young people, but smallholder
Yeah.
farmers who are at the forefront of
Um,
our food production, because we realize that they make up about 70. The average age of farmers in Nigeria is about 65. I'm not sure if it's in Africa or
wow.
Nigeria. Sure, it's about 65. So smallholder farmers who are at the forefront of our food production needs to understand these things. They need to understand that when they weed their fields, they don't just pack the greenery away from the field, but they leave it there to decompose and to also conserve soil moisture. Realize that the government at all levels, local, state, and federal, and all agencies
Mm,
need to be involved in these things because they control most of they control all of the policies that goes into uh, food production. So they need to be involved. There's an urgent need to create an enabling environment for climate smart agriculture to thrive. You realize that even the private sector needs a part to play because they are the ones who supply, they're the ones who we purchase these
mm.
chemicals from. So there's a
Wow.
need of they need to sensitize farmers on how to apply these things, when to apply them, and when not to apply them. And also, they can also be helpful in providing climate and weather data that can assist the smallholder farmer in planning his activities on the farm. So you don't just spray your field, for example, when it is windy. So maybe when these chemicals will go to other fields and destroy the bio ecosystem and all of that. So realize that they needs to be involved. Then agencies, government parastatals needs to be involved. The financiers, the public and private, needs to be involved. The non-governmental organizations need to be involved. They need to provide intervention programs and training programs. They need to finance people like Olalua who go to these farms and sensitize them about the benefits of climate smart agriculture. You understand? Then we have where I belong to, the researchers. We need to do better. We need to show these people the numbers. We need to tell them that in 1999, this is the yield of cassava, but in 2022, this is the yield of cassava. Why should that be? You get, we need to understand these trends. We need to look at our um weather and climate data and see what has changed, see what has improved, shout at the top of our voices and alert the government that we honestly cannot continue this way if we need food production to be sustainable. And it has to be sustainable because everyone has a right to food. So these are the different stakeholders, and this is what they need to do to ensure that climate smart agriculture is sustainable. And at the same time, universities too, they need to train, they need to let people, they need to also sensitize young people, students who are still in school. They need to tell them about these things, and they need to publish and educate people, farmers along the food value chain, and also inquire about the progress that is being made. If they provide a solution, they should investigate how much, or how much this solution has solved, or how much it has not solved, or is this sustainable or is it not sustainable. And if it's not sustainable, we need to come up with other ways by which we can ensure that sustainability has to be ensured. So
All right.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for that wonderful insight, Dorcas. You know, moving
thank you.
forward, the other time you raised the point about the rural people, you know,
Yeah,
and sometimes too, I think I love to call them indigenous people,
yeah,
because
Mm.
you cannot take away the people living in the rural communities.
yeah.
You cannot take away their
I think his connection went off.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe. Oh, the network must be bad in the side.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just continue. Maybe the
Okay.
question he wants to ask is if there's a way the rural communities can be involved in participating in climate smart agriculture. You know, how can we how will I put it, serve as a bridge between you, the researchers, and the rural community, so they're able to understand all this data and information that we're getting about how the climate impacts agricultural practices. So how can we involve them? Yeah.
Okay. There are ways where we can involve the rural community. In fact, I think the first set of people who we need to involve are the rural communities, because, like I said, they are the forefront of food production. So we need to make it attractive and accessible to them. And one of the ways by which we can do that is to show how much it will benefit their pockets, to show how much they will gain by either reducing cost of production or increasing their yield. So the one of the ways we can do that is to involve them, let them see the benefits at which they stand to gain if they practice climate smart agriculture. Let them understand that it's not it's not every time there's weed on your farm you spray. Let them understand that
Mm,
you can also weed manually, or you can get better planting materials that are resistant to weeds. Let them and with that they can make a better yield. Let them understand that this can provide a new employment opportunities for young people. Let them know that there's a linkage between food production and market opportunities that will reduce food wastage. Let them understand how these good practices can be documented and shared for the benefit of the rural communities. Let them understand that if they plant trees, it means that they are investing in the quality of their air, for example, for the nearest future. Let them come up with their initiatives themselves. Be in like For them to be involved, they have to also be involved in the solution. It has to be a joint collaboration.
mm,
We honestly cannot do it again,
mm,
do it alone. There's not one single stakeholder that can provide the solutions. It has to be an integrated approach. It has to be across all boards. Every hand must be on deck to achieve climate smart agriculture.
Thank you very much.
all
Thank you
right.
very much for that.
Apologies, I lost my internet the other time.
Yeah,
Um,
we
all right.
We understand.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Dorcas, can we have your final words on the show today?
yes, please. So, climate smart agriculture is basically a type of smart agriculture where we honestly have to increase our productivity and resilience. And at the same time, we have to understand the realities of our climate change. We have to combine innovative ways of managing land, water, and our natural resources for more efficient food production and make our food systems more resilient. Climate change is real; it is happening, and climate smart agriculture, practicing climate smart agriculture is non-negotiable because we really, really need to. We need to make our food system more resilient to the effect of climate change, and at the same time, we need to produce more food, but not at the expense of our climate and our natural biodiversity. So, if there's a way where we can meet at the midpoint, where all our natural resources won't have to suffer for food production, then so be it. Ah, the decades and hundred of millions of dollars that has been invested in research translates to nothing if we can't practice these things efficiently. So we really, really need to search within and come up with innovative solutions to achieving climate smart agriculture. Thank you very much for having me. It's such a pleasure
Thank you
to be able
so
to talk
much for
about.
coming.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dorcas, for joining us. Sincerely, we must appreciate your time. Thank you
Yeah.
for
I think his network went off again.
we beckon on you. You are going to answer the call.
Sure, sure, definitely. We are in this together.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah, we can
yes.
hear you now.
All right, all right. I want to again thank you for joining us on this edition of our Green Talk Show. We want to
It's a
sincerely
pleasure.
appreciate you, Dorcas.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for sharing great insight with us. One thing about this topic or this theme is that we cannot exhaust it within the shortest
Yeah,
possible time. We still
yeah,
have more to talk about, just like we are kind of restricting it just to give a tip of an iceberg
yeah.
to our audience. So definitely, I hope when we call on you the next time, we you are going to answer us. Hopefully.
Thank you. Of course, I will. Thank you very much,
All
Timothy
right,
and
thank you.
Olaloa.
Temitope,
All right.
any
Thank
words
you
from
very
you
much.
before we end the broadcast?
Oh, I just want to say thank you for Dorcas. I mean, thank you to
Thank you very
Dorcas because
much.
it's although I've read about this, but having someone talk about it in a local, I mean, bringing a local perspective into it kind of makes it more juicy. So thank you very
Yeah,
much. Thank you.
it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh,
All right.
that's
All
all
right.
from me, sir.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great
Yeah.
day.
You
Bye.
All right.
too.
Bye.
Bye.